What's good, Knick fans? How we doing tonight? It's Jack here. I am going to be giving my post-game analysis tonight. Um, I hope y'all are doing well. It's a nice Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. Knicks basketball. So tonight we lost 99-91, but that's all right. It's all right. It's just preseason. I mean, I don't expect many wins during the season, but yeah, we played a decent game tonight. I'd say that I'm just gonna go from start to finish. Let's start analyzing now. Okay, so first quarter analysis. I took down a good amount of notes this game, and I'd say overall we just didn't play great basketball tonight. I mean, we played all right, but it just wasn't nearly as good as I wished it would be. The Pistons played a 2-3 zone on us for a lot of the first half of basketball, and that was really killing us. I mean, our offense was just not getting going in the early second quarter. It looked really bad. We took R.J. Barrett out of the game, but there was definitely some upside to this the second half of the first half of the game. Julius Randle and Obi Toppin actually made their debuts playing together. I'd say it was an interesting choice. Oh, thank you. Good question. Zach is not able to be on tonight. He wasn't able to watch the game, or he said he watched about 20% of it, and he's got some homework. So tonight I'll be soloing this. I'd appreciate if you had any questions that I could build off of if you threw them at me. It's hard to do these solo game analysis and pregame analysis and stuff, but I'm going to try and keep it going for as long as I can. Anyway, let's get right back into it unless you have any questions. Julius Randle's passing tonight was horrific, in my opinion. Whoops, I'm sorry about that. Julius Randle's passing was really bad tonight. I was very disappointed. I know RJ was open in the corner a few times, and the passes just weren't getting to him. And he had a phenomenal night as is, but those extra three-pointers, they can really change the game. They can change the momentum. And we just didn't really have those tonight. Anyway, RJ definitely needs to work on free throws. I know the second half of the game he shot better than he did in the first half. Free throw-wise, that is. I'm not sure if he actually did or not. But we give up about 31 points in the first quarter. That is semi-normal. I'd say we could have done way better. But yeah, let me look a little bit more into the stats here. We got those pulled up. Anyway, for the first quarter of the game, this is clearly incorrect. My bad. I was looking at the wrong thing, but the difference is, see here, we only scored 20 points in the first quarter. I think that had a lot to do with the 2-3 zone they were playing us, and I think Tibbs just yelled at those guys at halftime because, honestly, they really started shaping up after that. I mean, I know we didn't really cover much ground in the second quarter, but we did outscore them by 1 point. We only let them 21 points. Third quarter, we came out blazing, guns blazing, 33 points. 23 for the Pistons. They had it was a very similar reverse effect, but fourth quarter we just couldn't get it done. I felt like we had only scored, and I'm surprised we actually scored 16 in the fourth quarter because it felt more like we scored 2. It was really ugly. We just couldn't get it going at all. And I think that really does have a lot to do with not having a closer. And I don't know what happens, but I guess we just have no clutch players on this team to the point where it's like when we get to the fourth quarter, and this was a thing last season too, we just play like trash. It just suddenly happened. There's suddenly some sort of effect that the players realize, okay, it's a close game, and then boom, we just start playing bad. But enough ranting about how we played. Let me get into the individual performances. They're really working R.J. Barrett in the preseason here. 36 minutes. I guess it does make sense. These dudes haven't played real basketball in 9 months. So getting them back into working shape is appropriate. But playing R.J. Barrett 36 minutes in a preseason is honestly, in my opinion, a little bit too much. We could have given guys like Miles Powell a little bit more of time to shine here. He didn't get in today. Kevin Knox has just extremely disappointed me. I would say that we should give him more chances, but quite frankly, he's had, 2 good off seasons here where he's had ideas of what he needs to work on, and he's just not getting better at them. So quite frankly, I would cut his minutes off completely and I would focus more on guys like Frank, DSJ, quickly. But yeah, I gotta talk a little bit more about RJ Barrett. I'd say he played very good tonight. His efficiency was way better than what it was in the first game, especially consistency throughout the actual game itself. Because you can have a really consistent first half, but you could have a really inconsistent second half, and you would still call the game average consistency. Whereas this game for him, he just had great consistency throughout the whole thing. I mean, I'm using that word a lot, but he played really well. He kind of carried the team on his back throughout the whole time. Anyway, when he wasn't in the game, there really wasn't any offensive flow going on, I felt like. If you have Julius Randle out there as the primary dude to score, you're really in a terrible position. Because he played pretty awful, in my opinion. Getting to him a little bit. Yeah, I was really disappointed by the way Julius Randle played. He could have played, I feel like, a mile better, but he played a mile worse. He wasn't, I know the stats show he played okay, 18, 6 and 5, but on the contrary, it comes down to a lot of the plays that he was making and a lot of the plays he could have made. Seeing RJ Barrett open in the corner in, I think it was like the second quarter of the game. I wrote it down. Anyway, he was open, and he's screaming for the ball. He's boom, boom, waving his hand. Nothing. Julius, you need to learn how to pass the ball. If you're at the free throw line, and there's one defender in between you and RJ, but you can easily make the pass, just make the pass. It gets you an extra assist. And worst case scenario, he misses the three. There, you're potentially there for the offensive rebound. I don't see the downside in him going and passing the ball out. But it's just how Julius plays, and we kind of have to get used to it, or we have to trade him. Anyway, kind of getting back into the first quarter performance. Our three-point shooting in the first quarter was really ugly. I know Alec Burks kind of got us going with the three-pointers. So did Reggie Bullock, although he didn't really remain consistent throughout the whole game. Mitch is he's starting to get under my skin a little bit. I won't lie. I really do. I love Mitch. I met him at the Mercedes event in Westchester pre-COVID. And I got his autograph, and I really do appreciate him coming out for that. But when it comes down to the basketball side of things, Mitch, you need to stop fouling. It's getting kind of ridiculous. Throughout the whole game, I mean, you stayed in a good amount in the fourth quarter. We had to take you out, though, at one point. You have 5 fouls in 12 minutes, man. I mean, that's really disgustingly ugly. I mean, I got asked a question the other night from English class, or better known as Anthony. He went in the chat, and he said, for the first game, he said, how fast do you think Mitch will get 3 fouls? Or do you think Mitch will get 3 fouls in the first half of the game? And I said, you know what? I think he must have worked on that in the offseason. I'm optimistic that he can probably stay on his feet, that he won't swipe at people like he used to, that he's less of a raw talent now, more trained. But I was wrong. Mitch, he just had a ton of fouls tonight that were so unnecessary, including a flagrant one. And I know a lot of people were upset about that flagrant call, but quite frankly, in my opinion, it did look like a flagrant. He went up, he got pump faked pretty badly by Blake Griffin, and he landed on his neck. And although it wasn't intentional, it didn't look like, he needs to be better. There's definitely things he could have handled better throughout the game. I know he went up and he missed a layup, and out of anger, because I guess he thought he deserved a call, he goes and he reaches and he fouls on a fast break, and it was totally unnecessary. We had some guys running back, and those are just the tic-tac fouls that he's been doing throughout his entire career that need to be fixed. And I know he sees it, and I know that he wants to fix it, but if he wants to fix it, he needs to actually do it. It's 100% him. No one really controls him. The coaching has nothing to do with those types of decisions that he makes. But I will go back onto the second quarter. I mean, just overall, a summary of the first quarter, sloppy. It was really bad. I wasn't a big fan of it. Anyway, Zach comes in with a question. I miss you on the stream here, Zach. We gotta get you in next time. But what did you see in OB tonight? I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people will look at the stats and say that he played terrible, But quite frankly, he really didn't play that bad. I mean, he shot 1 for 8, which sounds really disgusting, and it is. But he made some of his free throws. I know he missed maybe a free throw or two, and he's got to get more consistent at that. But as his second game in the NBA, what were his stats here? 4, 4, and 1. Doesn't sound great in 24 minutes, but he was making the right passes. His defense hasn't necessarily improved from the first game, but I could tell that he was attempting to stay in front of his guy a lot better than he was. There was more effort. And I think that there's more upside to Obi, honestly, than downside. I know him on the floor tonight wasn't the best, but we won't be playing back-to-backs with the same team every night. So I'm sure the Pistons, they had a good night, and they analyzed Obi's game, and they learned how to shut him down. I think he'll come back next time, and he'll play better, but I think his first game performance kind of outweighed this game's performance, made him, more of a solidified player in the first game. But yeah, going back on topic, what I was talking about, first quarter overall was pretty sloppy. Wasn't a big fan. Anyway, second quarter started, and the Pistons continued, as they did in the first quarter, to hit wide open shots. I feel like we were playing some sort of weird zone, because I know we weren't playing man, and it would just leave a guy open in the left side corner every single time. I mean, Sekou Doumbouya killed us tonight. And in my pregame predictions, I can go back and I can show you guys, but in my pregame predictions, I said if Sekou Doumbouya plays good tonight, we lose. Man had 24 points tonight. If I look back into their stats, let's see. 23 points, 5 rebounds in 18 minutes. He played out of his mind. He was hitting shots. He was making free throws. It's that simple. I said if you don't shut him down, the game is over. Because I know he didn't play very good the first game. And I said, well, Connor even came in here footballing. And he said, well, Sekou Doumbouya and Blake Griffin didn't play good. So that's why we won narrowly. And that was correct. Blake Griffin turned it around tonight, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists in 23 minutes. And Sekou Doumbouya had 23 points and 5 rebounds in 18 minutes, which was really impressive, by the way, for like a 19-year-old kid. He was the youngest player in the league last year, so it really does show a lot that he's making improvements that we kind of wish Kevin Knox had made in a way, which he just didn't. Let's get a little bit more into... Not this. Let me get a little bit more into the Knicks stats here. Let's talk Nerlens Noel. He didn't play as many minutes, I think, tonight as he did the other night, but he did the same thing. He didn't score as many points, which is okay because we're not asking him to be this offensive unit for us. We're asking him to play defense, and tonight he did that. There was a little scuffle at the end of the game between him and Isaiah Stewart, I believe. And actually, Isaiah Stewart was ejected. I'm sure they exchanged some sort of words because it didn't look too physical. But I'll tell you one thing. He's one of those guys that won't back down. I appreciate that. It's nice to have dogs like that on the team, I feel like that's something that we had in Elfrid Payton last year. I know it didn't turn out very well, and I can't believe I got a good memory for this, but it was the Utah Jazz game, and Jay Crowder got absolutely decked by Elfrid. And that's just because he took exception to a steal he made at the very end of the game. And I feel like that's a similar situation that happened with Nerlens tonight. And I can definitely say that I don't vouch for him fighting guys, but I appreciate his passion, especially in the preseason. Anyway, he came in with 10 rebounds tonight. There's not really much I had to say wrong about him. He played fine. If you could make a change to how the coach is playing the players, what would it be? That's a really good question. I would actually play Obi and Julius together more, but I would make sure to have RJ on the floor. Thibodeau did experiment with that tonight. Thibodeau, our head coach, and I feel like although maybe there was some offensive, increases because you have small ball play, but the defense wasn't super good. You can't expect to play Julius at the 5 and Obi at the 4 successfully because you need a 5. Julius isn't that, although he's a tall dude, he's a beefy dude. He's not meant to play the 5. He's not that defensive unit. So if you had maybe put someone like Mitch or Nerlens at the 5 and you had slid Obi to small forward, because you could do that, play RJ at the 2. I think there's a good shot that you could probably play someone like Quickly at the 1, considering he proved in college that he can shoot the 3 ball, and you could test it. Or there's always a chance, because I know RJ did play a little bit of point guard last year, that you throw RJ there at the 1, and you have someone like Alec Burks play the 2 so you can stretch the floor better. Obviously, the defense isn't the best in the world on that lineup, but I feel like it's definitely better than if you played Nerlens at the, if you played Julius at the 5, and if you played Obi at the 4, because Obi is not well known for his defense, and it shows, and Julius is not particularly known for his defense either. So I appreciate that question. It was a good question, Connor. I would definitely make some changes if I had the chance. Kind of moving on from Nerlens Noel, because I feel like I kind of praised him enough here. Alec Burks, another player that I'm going to absolutely praise. He played his role phenomenally tonight. I couldn't help but just be excited to watch him get the ball, because he was hitting all these clutch fadeaway three-pointers in the third quarter at one point. He really got us the momentum we needed to get back into the game, because I know at one point we were down by upwards of 15 points, something like that. So it was really good to see him come alive and play well, considering the reason we signed him is because we need a 3-and-D guy. He can, I don't know if he's exactly a lockdown player, but he can hit the 3 ball, and that's exactly what we're asking him to do, especially when we have a guy like RJ Barrett on the floor who maybe can't do that as well. Elfrid Payton, I was not a fan of him tonight. I feel like he shouldn't have really started compared to the way, none of the point guards we have on the roster really deserve to start tonight. They all didn't play very good. But I wasn't really a fan of Elfrid Payton tonight. I feel like he turned the ball over a little bit early. I remember him throwing an ish pass is a good way to describe it. It wasn't great. He just threw it to, I feel like, the air. It was horrible. And considering he is a liability shooting-wise, why are you keeping him out there if he can't pass the ball right now, and if he simply can't shoot the ball? Like, there's no point having him out there, especially when his defense isn't super hot. Although, I will say he was picking up full court a little bit this game, and I was a little intrigued by that, because he's not well known for that. Kind of already covered Obi Toppin a little bit when Zach asked that question. But yeah, I feel like it wasn't the worst game in the world. He'll have worse games than that, definitely. He just didn't have the confidence tonight. I know at one point, I just think he stopped trusting himself at the three-point line. He had a very wide-open three-pointer in the corner, where he's actually well known for making them, and he hadn't made them this game. He was at that point, I think, 1 for 5 or something. So he just drove to the basket, and he botched a layup. But he definitely had a wide-open opportunity, and if that three-point shot gets better, they'll play up on him. He'll drive by. It's simple. I have a good feeling that he will develop that three-point shot throughout the season. So we'll see what happens. And breaking news, I'll just say this straight up. The Pistons have waived LiAngelo Ball. That is a sad thing. He was in the NBA for like 10 days, all the hype, and he didn't get any minutes. That is a damn shame. But let's get back on to Knicks. That's a sad thing for LeVar Ball, although I didn't expect LiAngelo to stick around long. Reggie Bullock, he played okay. He missed a lot. No, he didn't play that great. He missed a lot of shots when it mattered in the fourth quarter. He had a wide-open 3 with about a minute left, I think, 50-something seconds on the clock. Couldn't have been more wide open, and he just front-rimmed it. And that wasn't just... I'm not only mad about that, is that his shooting wasn't super consistent tonight. I'm not sure if I can dive deeper into his stats. I don't believe I can. Maybe I can. I don't know. Anyway, if I look... no, I can't. Not for preseason anyway. But yeah, he didn't play super good tonight. He's a spot-up shooter for us, and he wasn't spot-up shooting like he normally does. He had a way better... He proved last season that he can have good games like that, just like what Alec Burks had tonight, and I just didn't see it, which is not really his fault. Everyone's going to have off nights, especially when you haven't played in 9 months, but I expected a little bit more. Mitch very much disappointed me tonight. He had some open dunks, sure, but he had a chance, actually, to shoot a three-pointer, and I was a little disappointed when he didn't do it. I'm not saying he has a good stroke. I'm not saying he's probably a good three-point shooter, because I don't know if he is or not. But he's talking all this trash in the offseason about how he can shoot threes now, about how he's this demigod, like a 2K build, 99 overall, and I just didn't see it tonight. The 5 fouls in 12 minutes really pissed me off a little bit. I got extremely frustrated with him at one point where he just intentionally fouled someone. I didn't understand that necessarily, and I was just confused, but what happens, I guess. Especially when it comes to Mitch. He didn't get minutes tonight. He got 19 minutes? Yeah, 19 minutes tonight. 5 rebounds, 8 points, but the consistency wasn't there with the defense, so I did not like it. Dennis Smith Jr., getting into him, he played like the Dennis Smith Jr. I expected him to play like. And I'm seeing that Google hasn't updated his number yet, which is a little bit disrespectful here. Put some respect on that man's name. He's number 4 now. But, 17 minutes, 2 points, 3 assists, 1 rebound. He didn't play good. He did not pass the ball off the pick and rolls. He was getting doubled. At one point, he just didn't give up the ball. Got pushed beyond the half-court line, and there was a backcourt violation. Just really easy, simple stuff that he was messing up. Like first grader stuff. Give up the ball. Like, you're not in Little League anymore, Dennis Smith. You have to share the ball. Especially when someone like R.J. Barrett had the hot hand, and he was playing well throughout the whole game. It's not like he just had the hot hand in the first half or the second half. He played fine the whole time. So, we didn't see much from him. Kevin Knox, I literally unfollowed Kevin Knox on Instagram tonight. I was done dealing with him. 2 points, 4 rebounds. This was very disappointing. He airballed 2 shots tonight. Not that RJ didn't the other night, but at least RJ bounced back and hit shots in the second half. Kevin Knox couldn't even stay on the floor. It was that bad. So that's why I said earlier, honestly, I would sacrifice him and I would literally just give minutes to guys like Quickly. I think we should have traded him in the offseason for a guy like Buddy Hield, because now I feel like his value is just going to become more and more diminished as he continues to play, considering he is just not it. He's a bust right now. And I had very high hopes for him in the offseason, don't get me wrong. I don't hate the guy. I just hate the way he's been playing on the basketball court lately, and that's a fact. So Frank Ntilikina, he's always a defensive guy, but he committed a lot of fouls tonight, I know that. I won't even blame him for committing a lot of fouls, because I think a big problem was the refs. And I don't really blame the refs for his defense tonight, but I will say that he had his hands up a lot on guys that were driving on him, and the refs were just calling it every time. There wasn't really much he could do, and he didn't get time to play, so I'm not going to hate him too much for only getting 12 minutes. There's only so many minutes he can go around. And Emmanuel Quickley, I was very happy he got to debut today, because I feel like during the season he's not going to have as many chances, but hopefully we see him more playing against Cleveland in the next 2 preseason games, because I think he showed some flashes of potential out there, but he's proving that he is still a rookie. He had some really questionable plays towards the end of the game. We let him play in the fourth quarter crunch time minutes, just trying to establish who should and shouldn't be on the floor in those crunch time minutes, especially because we need 3-point shooters out there. And him being, I think, the SEC Player of the Year in college was a big deal. I see a question from Zach coming in. What changes do you expect to this rotation being made when Rivers gets back? It's a very good question. I don't know. I feel like Alec Burks will probably his playing time will diminish a little bit. I think RJ might potentially move to the 3. I think there's a chance that will happen, and that Rivers will start at the 2. I don't think Rivers has any chance of getting off the bench. I think he's definitely going to start for this team, just based off what Thibodeau's been doing lately. And that is, if he doesn't start at the 2 or 3, which I don't think he'd start at the 3. He's a little undersized for that. He might take over Elfrid Payton's spot. And what does that mean for guys like Dennis Smith or Frank? I don't know. Frank has potential to play roles like shooting guard and small forward because he can defend those positions, but I think if you want to look further into things, DSJ may be kicked out of the rotation almost permanently at this point. He really has to prove himself in this preseason, because when Austin Rivers gets back, he's just going to have so little chances to prove himself unless he's killing it in practice, which I'm not seeing. But yeah, getting back onto Emmanuel quickly. Thank you for the question, Zach. He played fine. I mean, like he got 9 minutes, so I can't critique him much. But he didn't really get to shoot many threes. I don't even know if he shot any threes. But I know he drove to the basket on one of the first possessions of the game after he checked in, and he put up a floater, missed, and then put it right back, which was impressive considering he's an undersized guard. I mean, he's 6'3", 6'2". He doesn't look it, though. He looks like he's 6 feet tall. I'm not sure about the height accuracy there, especially because coming out of Kentucky, a lot of guys have that height controversy. Anthony Davis's height, DeMarcus Cousins' height. I mean, who knows, you know? But yeah, he's a fine player, I guess. He's a catch and shoot guy, but he didn't get to prove it tonight because I know the Pistons planned around not letting us have threes. And I think that is only Emmanuel Quickly's plan. No one could shoot threes. They were daring us to shoot threes most of the game. That's why they're playing the 2-3 zone. But getting back on, just because we kind of finished the individual player analysis here, getting back on to kind of actually, you know what? I'll finish up Emmanuel quickly because I saw during the game there was a little snippet of him at media day or a press conference, and they were asking him who he compares himself to, or at least who he models his game after, and he gave a very interesting answer, and I really thought it was kind of a cool comparison. He said he compares himself or like looks up to guys like C.J. McCollum and Lou Williams, and he said Avery Bradley defensively. And I thought to myself, I said, those are pretty good, humble comparisons. Not that he turned into a guy like C.J. McCollum or Lou Williams necessarily, but I think based off of his play and time in college, I think he deserves, and he deserves some respect. He deserves to kind of be in the same, you know, I guess conversation as those guys if he develops enough. But yeah, I mean, kind of getting off Emmanuel quickly now. We just had a bad offensive half. It just wasn't good. What did we score? We scored 44 in the half. It's okay, but compared to them, they scored, I think it was 52. 52. So it wasn't super impressive, honestly. And our offensive showing in the fourth quarter especially, it was really bad. But the one thing I said is that I compared R.J. Barrett on his draft night to DeMar DeRozan. And the reasoning for that is because I know he's got a deadly mid-range game, and he has really proven it this season. I mean, he's going for fadeaway jumpers, pull-up middies on the fast break, and I swear he is making all of them. He's going to be a serious problem when it comes to that. Hopefully in the next year or so, he'll develop that more. He's been very consistent so far in the preseason with those pull-up jumpers. I know that's kind of how he got himself going the other night. He hit a fadeaway midi on, I think it was, I don't know who it was on, but he hit a nice little fadeaway midi on somebody. But yeah, I was getting a little annoyed with the refs when they gave that flagrant out to Mitch. Of course, I understood the logistics behind it. I just didn't really like that. I mean, Mitch was clearly trying to just kind of protect himself, but he should have been more self-conscious of Blake being there and him kind of getting his hands around that neck area, so that made sense. But when that Julius Randle play had happened and he got a technical after that, that really got my bubble, or that really got me boiling a little bit. So what? He's talking back to the ref a little bit because Blake Griffin clearly flopped. They show a replay. Julius Randle's coming up from under with the ball, and I think he's kind of drive or maybe take a shot and draw a foul. And Blake Griffin the hand is here, and Blake just, boom, he just whips his head back. They call an offensive foul, and boom, the Knicks lose the possession. So what? I think at that point it's okay to have a little, maybe even disrespectful conversation with the referee because they made the wrong call. Giving the technical was, in my opinion, totally ridiculous. I thought the flagrant was reasonable, but the technical on Julius was ridiculous. And the Blake Griffin flopping just pissed me off. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen the dude flop before. Come on now. He played in the Clippers jersey at one point. That's hate to the Clippers right there. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like the way they play sometimes. Yeah, I mentioned that Noel was playing great defensively and that the defense coming out in the third quarter was just way better than the way we had played throughout the first two quarters of the game. Like I said, I think that has a lot to do with Thibodeau's halftime plan. I'm not really sure what he changed, but I feel like the intensity of the players just got harder. The contests that we were getting on the guys that were just wide open in the corners were a lot different. We were running a lot harder. We were jumping a lot higher. And I'll say, I think it was just a confidence boost that really changed the game around, quite frankly. Julius Randle hit a really nice three at halftime. There was like 0.4 seconds left on the clock after that, and they didn't get a shot. So it was a good momentum shifter going into half. And it really helped us kind of propel our offense into the third quarter because we needed that. And we scored 33 points in the third quarter. But, like I mentioned earlier, fourth quarter comes around and we forget how to play basketball. It's just simple. We played a terrible first 6 or 7 minutes, and it only got worse from there on out. I really don't know what to say regarding how we could change that. I feel like it's just the players' intensity died down. They got tired. I mean, RJ did play 36 minutes, but he did sit for some of the fourth quarter. I mean, he played the best he could. He hit some free throws at the end of the game. Of course, he didn't make all of them, but he hit the free throws that mattered at the end of the game. And he did miss one layup that I was very disappointed with, but you really can't expect everyone, and even professionals, to hit every single layup. We've seen guys miss before, and it wasn't the most important layup in the game, but it would have helped. Getting off of RJ, because I already said he played a fine game. Mitch. He played better defense in the fourth quarter than he literally did all game because he realized he had 5 fouls. When he wants to, he can play conservatively. He can sit back, he can play fair defense, and he doesn't have to play aggressive, and he's still just as much of a presence on the court. But I don't understand this unnecessary frustration that he always comes in with, where he's just like, let me swipe at you, let me swipe at you. It just doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I think it was a really good decision to put Quickly in at the end of the game, not because he's proved himself in any sort of way, but I think it's nice to kind of get those young guys, especially the ones we kind of want to build around. I think it's nice to get them some fair experience. I think it would have been even nicer if we had thrown Miles Palin at some point in the game, maybe early in the game, or I mean, I know throughout the game it was pretty close, but giving those guys a chance, I think, is the point I'm trying to make, especially because it's preseason. It's not like it matters. I don't want to see them in the 71st game of the season when we've already went and lost 60 games. I want to see them in the preseason and the early season. But I don't know if we'll see that. Anyway, I'm really disappointed that I couldn't pull off a longer stream tonight. I'm really sorry about that, but it's really hard to kind of talk off of nothing here. But yeah, I'll just go back and say Alec Burks played great. Noel played all right. Mitch played terrible. Kevin Knox played terrible. RJ played great. Obi did lose some confidence, like I mentioned, and that's unfortunate because he wasn't getting incorporated into the offense in the first quarter of the game when he got subbed in. They really weren't giving him the ball, and I feel like that kind of got him a little cold. And then by the time he got his first shot, he just wasn't warmed up, and then, there he goes. You've already kind of lost Obi at that point because you need to get him warmed up. You have to give him the ball when he gets in the game, especially if you're going to come off the bench. Like, he's well rested, and DSJ just wouldn't give him the ball, especially on some pick and rolls that he definitely should have. But yeah, I'm sorry. It was a short podcast today, way shorter than I would have wanted it to be, but I appreciate everybody who stopped in. I don't know how long I went exactly so far. Oh, thank you for the last minute question there, Zach. I will just check this first. Okay, about 35 minutes so far. How do I think the Knicks will match up against the Cavs? That's a good question. I think we should pull up the Cavs roster just to kind of feel it out a little bit, see how they're playing. All right, so they got Thon Maker on the team. I was actually unaware of that. Interesting. Isaac Okoro is someone who's super underrated. I don't know if he played today, but I know he played on Friday, and I know he kicked ass. Excuse my French there, but I know he did really well. 18 points, I think he was 18 and 5, and he hit a clutch layup, and he had a nice defensive possession. I didn't actually get to watch the game, but these are just what I'm hearing. But yeah, I think having Colin Sexton as their point guard is going to hurt us a lot, because he's one of those guys who I'm pretty sure he's a sniper, but he's also very fast. He drives to the rim. I know they call him the young bull, so I know he's going to run at Mitch a lot. And if Mitch can, stay on the ground and have his hands straight up, get some nice blocks, there's a lot of potential that we can win. But they got a lot of good bigs. They got Kevin Love. He's very skilled. Andre Drummond is a big dude, well known for his rebounds. So can Mitch stay on the ground when Andre's playing him? I'm not sure. It really, in my opinion, it has a lot to do with Mitch. I think the rest of the team can kind of play all right. I think the Kevin Love Julius Randle matchup is fair. I think RJ Barrett on Darius Garland or Colin Sexton will be fair. It's just a matter of, how much time will Obi play, and will he get blown by guys like Isaac Okoro if he plays at the small forward? I'm not sure. These are just questions you have to ask, and I feel like it's kind of predicting a little bit too far out. I'll talk more about this when it comes to the pregame analysis, and I'll know the starting lineups, and I'll kind of get a feel for how the Cavs play after I watch a little bit of their film and watch a little bit of the highlights. But yeah, I feel like the Cavs and the Knicks were kind of on even ground when it comes to basketball. But it'll be nice to see Damian Dotson back. He's a guy who I really liked on the Knicks. I was able to interact with him a little bit in his live streams over the summer. But yeah, he's a good guy, and I wish him the best. And it's gonna be nice to have him back at MSG. And just to top it off, it'll be nice to be back at MSG watching Knicks basketball. Last minute before I end the podcast, if anybody has any questions, call in at 203-961-3409. Number is in the description, and it is kind of hovering around at the top of the podcast there. If it isn't there right now, it's because it's scrolling. But I'll give y'all an extra minute if you want to call in, ask any questions. Otherwise, this live stream will be ending very soon. Anyway, yeah, I think it was a really good question, how the Cavs will match up with the Knicks. I think it's kind of hard to give my analysis on that right now, though, because this Cavs team is really young. It's new. I'm not familiar with all the players. I'm not a big college basketball type of guy, so I don't really watch college basketball as much as I should. So I haven't really seen a lot of Isaac Okoro yet, but from what I've heard, he's been playing quite well. I'm not sure Kevin Porter. I really didn't watch much Cavs basketball last year, so I'm not sure how good Kevin Porter really is, but I know, again, he has a lot of potential. It's just guys like that you really don't know much about yet. But I know Colin Sexton, I think one of the disadvantages the Cavs will have is that if he's the starting point guard, which I'm not sure if he will be, but if he's the starting point guard, they're going to have limited passing. He reminds me kind of like a better DSJ type of guy, where he's got a better shot, but he's not well known for his passing, and that's kind of a good comparison to one of the Knicks players we have. Whereas, DSJ really just can't shoot at all. But, I hope y'all have enjoyed the stream tonight. I wish it could be longer, but it's, like I said, kind of hard to just talk off of nothing. Anyway, I will see you all next stream. I believe the Cavs play on Wednesday, and I think one of the upsides to that is that where I live, we're going to be getting a good amount of snow on Wednesday night into Thursday, so I may actually be able to have a snow day, meaning I can extend the stream as long as I want. But yeah, I hope y'all have a really blessed night, and I'm happy that y'all stopped in and asked questions today. Thank you, and I'll see you guys the next pre-game analysis live stream. Bye now.